this major escalation comes right after, on Friday, the assassination of Hezbollah's chief Hassan Nasrallah in Beirut at Hezbollah's underground headquarters. And over the last 2 weeks, major part of the leadership of Hezbollah and the Red One forces being neutralized in different operations. Now, as you can see, as we talk, the light rail is arriving. This is the light rail in which, again, Israelis were murdered yesterday by Palestinian terrorists. We don't know yet where the attack came from in terms of, no one has yet claimed the attack at this point, but it has, of course, been praised.
Iranian cities celebrate the attack on Israel. Crackers explode during celebrations. Fireworks explode in the Iranian city of Qom. Iran fired nearly 200 missiles on Israel. Celebrations broke out. U.S. Defense Secretary has spoken to his Israeli counterpart, Yoav Gallant, amidst missile attacks on Israel. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has released a statement on Iran's missile strikes against Israel. Austin has said that the U.S. fulfilled its commitment to partner with Israel in its defense. The statement went on to warn Iran and say that we will never hesitate to protect our forces and interest in the Middle East. Geeta continues to be with us. Geeta, a reaffirmation from the U.S. that they are strongly backing Israel, though initially, of course, the indication from the U.S. was that escalation and aggression is not what they would prefer. It's not the first option, really, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. They were talking about ceasefire, although they have continued. The support for Israel from the United States of America has never stopped. It continues unabated, but yes, there was a very strong call for ceasefire, and that there were a lot of questions that were being asked about Netanyahu and how he's taking the war and expanding it to various other parts of West Asia. The Arab world very concerned, strategic partners of the United States of America pushing DC to ensure that Israel contains its war strategy. But that was not to happen. Everything changed once Israel got Hassan Nasrallah, and the Hezbollah was absolutely destroyed. And then we have Iran coming into the fray. Once Iran is in the picture, the focus and the strategic focus of America completely shifts over here. The agenda has shifted. America has now come out and completely said that they're going to back the Israeli forces, the Israeli government, irrespective of what really happens. So they are actually coming out and strongly backing their Israeli counterpart, because now the geopolitics of the region has changed with Iran in the fray. Till the time Iran was not directly involved in using proxies, there was plausible deniability, but now with Iran having attacked with the whole notion of the idea to defend herself, but nonetheless an attack on a military bases that were housing American jets, Mossad headquarters. It just seems like this is going to blow up right now. The Americans have completely sided with Israel also. Sneha, we've been reporting on this on India Today Global as well, on how Netanyahu's popularity has increased manifold. We had seen his popularity drop with the October 7th attacks, humiliation for the intelligence, the Israeli intelligence community, of which he's a part of or was a part of. And then we've seen how systematically he has ensured that there's a strategy in place to take out not just the Hamas, but all the others to stabilize the country. But is it a stabilizing factor, or is it further going to destabilize or something? We'll have to see. But in the meanwhile, we are seeing adversaries, we are seeing opposition, we are seeing those who had left, the allies who had left the government or had distanced themselves from Netanyahu, all now coming together and rallying behind Netanyahu. So yes, the Americans are looking at what's happening on the ground. The Americans are looking at how Netanyahu has become a very strong figure. And with now Iran in the fray, there is no other option for the US but to come out openly and outrightly support Israel.
All right. Geeta, be with us. Just coming back to you in a moment from now as we continue to keep our eyes firmly on those developments and look now at how world leaders are reacting to the latest escalation.
Of course, Israel has the right to defend itself, as any nation does. In terms of what Israel's response will be, of course, there must be consequences for Iran for this attack. We've made clear that there must be consequences. I'm not going to get into what those consequences are today, but there are things on which we will be coordinating with our Israeli counterparts. And I think in the immediate aftermath of this attack, we are going to coordinate with them on what any response might be. I think it's important that we are able to defeat this attack through successful work with Israel and with our partners, and we will work with them on what a response might look like, but I'm not at the position just 2.5 hours after this event occurred to offer what that might look like today.
3 military bases, Mossad headquarters on Iran target as expected. The missiles have hit ground at the Nevatim Air Base. Fatah missiles fired at Hat Zerim Tel Nov bases. Air bases house advanced US F-35 jets. Iran missiles launched from Shiraz missile base. The full extent of the damage is yet to be ascertained. Geeta Mohan getting in more details. Geeta, what more can you tell us about the way the Mossad bases have been hit by Iran? And what is perhaps, if at all you could give us an idea about the damage that has been done so far. I understand that the air bases housing advanced US F-35 jets have also been hit here.
Well, the details are only very sketchy because nobody's confirming exactly what is the damage within Israel. Israel has talked about how they face terrorism from Iran. This comes after talking about how there is going to be retaliation in response. America and various other countries in the West have also come out in support. But if you look at what is happening on the ground, the Iranian side have made it very clear that they were only looking at military bases, Mossad headquarters, and air infrastructure, whether they're planes or runway, from where planes fly out for aerial operations in the region, especially in Lebanon, which was bombed heavily. So those were the very important focus areas for Iran, and they were not focusing on civilian territories or certainly no civilian casualties, which Iran has been putting out and saying, well, we did not focus, and the target were not civilians, the target was just military infrastructure. Now there are details coming out that Iranian missiles have indeed hit the air base, which will certainly impact Israel's aerial capability. Israel has been using these air bases, which house very important American jets. And they've been using these bases to carry out their aerial operations in various quarters, especially in Lebanon. And earlier we'd seen the kind of operations and attacks that we saw in Gaza. Right. So we are looking at Iran being very specific with their targets and have hit the targets. Right. How much of a loss, how much of a damage, and how will it slow down Israel's capability? Something we'll have to wait and see. But if the Mossad headquarters have been hit, that certainly is a huge hit for Israel, and Israel will have to now come out with an official response, which is not been.
I'll come back to you, Geeta, in just a moment from now. Getting in my colleague Shivarur also this morning. This is a huge attack, perhaps the largest that we've seen in the last few days or so, with this attack being directed at the Mossad headquarters. If you could put this into perspective, and also, if at all you have a sense of the kind of damage that has been done.
The videos that exist at this point of time, Sneha, are only in the realm of open source intelligence taken by citizens. But we have a pair of confirmations now. The Iranian government has just released a statement claiming that their missiles have struck 3 air bases in Israel: Nevatim, Hatzarim, and Tel Aviv. These are the 3 principal combat air bases of the Israeli Air Force, which basically house the Israeli Air Force's F-35s, which are its stealth fighters. There are 39 of those, which are spread across a couple of bases. There are F-15s, which are also Strike Eagles. These are strike fighters.
Also, please, we apologize for that bit of a poor audio there, which we'll try and fix that, which in a moment from now. But he was, in fact, telling us about the attack, perhaps the largest attack that we've seen in the last few days or so, with the Mossad headquarters being attacked here. Iran missiles have launched from the Shiraz missile airbase. In fact, Tehran Times also reporting on this, and this is media, in fact, information that we're picking from Tehran Times as well. Well, the full extent of the damage yet to be ascertained is what is being indicated to us. Air bases house advanced U.S. F-35 jets, and that also has been hit. These are Fatah missiles fired at the Hatzarim Tel Nov bases. In fact, Shiv is back with us. Shiv, you were in fact giving us details of this attack and the magnitude of it.
That's right. If the claims being made by the Iranian government right now, Sneha, pan out to be true, this could be a very, very big, impact on the Israeli military capability. We don't know if or how many aircraft have actually been destroyed. But the Iranian government claims that many F-35 and F-15 aircraft have been destroyed. If that is true, that would be, a major impact, because the F-35s are Israel's most advanced fighter aircraft. They happen to be one of the most advanced fighter aircraft in the world at this point of time. These are stealth fighters used by Israel for airstrikes. These are aircraft that are practically invisible to air defense and to ground radars, and therefore they can perform strike missions, even in hostile airspace, which is southern Lebanon, which is the Houthi areas of Yemen, etc. It is said to be that the F-35s were the ones conducting airstrikes in contested airspace like Yemen. So if that capability has been hit, that would be a setback to Israel. But the dramatic claim being made by Iran is that 3 air bases have been hit: Nevatim, Hatzarim, and Tel Aviv. These are 3 prominent combat bases from which airstrikes and air power missions are really launched. The airstrike missions to Gaza, to Lebanon, to Yemen have all been conducted from one of these 3 bases, which is where, like I said, the F-15s, F-35s, and the F-16 fighter aircraft, all of American origin, operate from. All of these air bases are in central and southern Israel in the Negev desert. So they're pretty far away from the northern border with Lebanon. But the missiles that would have been used, if it indeed is true that these air bases have been struck, would be of a longer range, of a higher capability than the missiles that have been used thus far to target any Israeli targets, including the Mossad headquarters in Tel Aviv, which we'd heard even a couple of days ago through the Iranian press that that had been targeted by a ballistic missile as well. But like I said, the very fact that at least one well-known and credible researcher online has confirmed that at least one of these videos shows that the Nevatim airbase housing F-35 Lightning II fighters of Israel has been targeted, shows that these were not random ballistic missiles. They had target packages, and Israel clearly wants to send out a message. Once again, I'm adding the caveat: we don't know what the damage on the ground just yet is. These missiles could have hit other parts of the airbase. Airbases tend to be large structures. If any aircraft have been destroyed, that would be a huge, huge blow. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what damage is on the ground. I doubt we'll get to know very soon, because I've visited many of these places, Sneha, and they are very, very closed off. People aren't allowed inside. It's very unlikely that the press will get to know about any damage done on the inside very soon. The fog of war tends to be quite thick in times like this because information warfare is of paramount importance as well. So we'll have to wait and see over the next few hours to see exactly what the damage on the ground is. Also, last point, remember that following Iran's ballistic missile attack yesterday, Iran has said that they will respond at a time, place, and time and place of their choosing. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what that means.
The first images of Iranian missile launch. A look at Iran's deadly missile launch. Iranian media has released the missile launch video on your screens right now. 180 such missiles attacked Israel last night. Iranian media released the video set to show the launch of missiles against Israel. Ashutosh, getting in more details on that big story. Ashutosh, like you were telling us earlier also, this really is about narratives. Iran is in fact lauding its efforts in trying to bring Israel down to its knees, saying and releasing these videos and pictures that show in fact the intensity of the attacks and the kind of damage that has been done as far as Israel is concerned, isn't it? Particularly Tel Aviv.
And that's exactly what is reflecting in the statement of Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian, which says that it was our calculated response, and this response was in aggression of the Zionist regime. And they say this is everything that has been done keeping the interest of the Iranian citizens, and say that do not get into the conflict with us. So clearly, and if you remember post-April when that was one round of escalation when Iranian fired ballistic missiles, and then the very recent trigger was the killing of assassination of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, and the only thing that even US and Russia were mediating between Israel and Iran, that this region should not get into conflict. Israel was already engaged in Gaza, and then there was a rise in the escalation from the Lebanon side when Hezbollah literally crossed over this entire, so far, the 1 year long battle against Israel. But the firepower, all of a sudden increased, and then we have seen from day before yesterday, the Israel even invaded Lebanon territory by force. So clearly, if you see all around the way Israel is getting cornered by its adversaries, this makes really very crucial entry of Iran. And then it comes to the part of a narrative setting, because so far Israel has a very strong communication network. Every day they have a spokesperson from the Israeli defense for the Arab media. So you have a Israeli defense spokesperson for Arab, then you have a Israeli defense spokesperson for the English media. So clearly every day they brief about their operations, and every time, because it was yesterday, the defense spokesperson himself came out saying that there was a plan by Hezbollah to carry out another 7 October, and that was perhaps neutralized when during the ground invasion, when they neutralized all these tunnels with the stocks of arms and ammo. They even exploded those tunnels in a preventive steps. Using the air dominance, they are already having the edge on this particular region when it comes to Gaza, the Palestinian, the West Bank area, or even up to Beirut. But when it comes to neutralizing the air strike from, or the air attack from Yemen and Iran, that makes really very critical as far as the Israel's firepower or response is concerned. When they had to attack the ports of a Houthi militant group of the Yemen, when they fired ballistics, they had to carry not only the interception advanced aircraft, but also the intelligence aircraft, and along with the air refueling. So clearly, as and when by recalibration Israel plans to carry out an attack, it will be soon. And again, the difficulty is to reach out to that 2,000 kilometer and targeting Iran, if they at all have a plan to carry out significant strike on certain military installation. Or often we have seen the Israel's response come that we target exactly the area which was used against Iran. So on that, we'll have to see what response is going to be as far as Israel is concerned. But so far, Israeli media, they're saying that most of these interceptions, most of these ballistics were intercepted. There is hardly any casualty. In fact, what we know that so far there is one casualty is being reported. In fact, even yesterday's terror attack. Remember in Jaffa area, that's an Arab-dominated area in central Israel, when two terrorists literally came out from a trauma and started opening fire. There was 3 persons killed, including one defense personnel, one army person from the Israeli Defense Forces. And on that, this aggression now coming all of a sudden in Iran. Remember, there was barely couple of minute distance between while we were reporting all these about incidents unfolding, the terror attack. All of a sudden, there was a air siren raid from Jerusalem, from Jaffa, from Tel Aviv, and other these areas, and then a barrage of fires because the entire Iron Dome alert system was flooded with the air siren alerts. And then we have seen just in seconds the ballistics crossed over. So clearly, this is going to be very significant for both Iran. What I see, the Iranian agencies and Iranian supporters on Telegram flooded with the message. They are celebrating, they are putting out messages, and that also leads to some often, source of misinformation. But for now, both sides are declaring victory. Iran says we have taken a revenge, we have responded to Zionist regime, whereas Israel says we have intercepted almost all these projectiles, and there is hardly any damage done inside the territory of Israel.
Be with us. I'm coming back to you in a moment from now. Ashutosh Mishra getting in those details. Ashraf Vani, my colleague on Ground Zero. Ashraf is in Beirut in Lebanon, getting us up to speed with the current situation there. Ashraf, give us an idea about how things are at the moment, given that the ground incursion started as far as southern Lebanon is concerned. How do things look like? And, of course, unfortunately, further escalation only expected after the attack from Iran yesterday, isn't it? A series of attacks from Iran yesterday.
Saniha, since last evening, after the Iranian attacks on the Israel, we have seen massive 5 aerial strikes here in the area where I'm currently in the suburbs of Beirut. In fact, one of the buildings behind me has been hit by a massive missile of the Israel, and we are not being allowed by the Hezbollah people to shoot there, but I am near that building, which was one of the targets of Israel yesterday late evening after the Iranian attacks on Israel. There is a lot of fear. You can sense it from the streets here. No one is coming out from the homes in the Beirut city and its suburb areas because they think that probably next turn will be theirs, because during last 10 days, particularly after the Friday blasting of the Hezbollah headquarters, on each and every day, 3 to 4 strikes are carried out here on a specific buildings by the Israeli Air Force. So they may now enhance, as we have seen during the last night, 5 aerial strikes here in the suburb Beirut. And also the Israel has clearly said that they are going to take the retaliatory action of the Iranian missiles. That means this war is going to escalate in the whole Gulf region, particularly in the neighboring countries like Lebanon and the Gaza, as well as in the Syria.
पिछले शुक्रवार को हिजबुल्लाह के मुख्यालय में सबसे बड़ा अब तक का इतिहास का बम गिराया गया था यहाँ साउथ बेरूत में, और मैं वहीं पर खड़ा हूँ। आज 7 दिन के बाद किसी भी मीडिया को यहाँ पर आने की इजाज़त मिली है। आप मेरे पीछे देख सकते हैं कि क्या कितनी ताकत उस धमाके की रही होगी जिसने इस पूरे बहुमंजिले करीब 6 मंजिल की इमारत को थी, इसको ज़मीन दोज़ कर दिया। और यहाँ पर पहली बार आज जो है मीडिया को अलाउ किया है। करीब 1000 से भी ज़्यादा अंतर्राष्ट्रीय और राष्ट्रीय जो यहाँ के लोकल जर्नलिस्ट हैं वो यहाँ पर आए हैं ये पहली तस्वीर कैद करने के लिए। और आज तक का हमेशा वादा रहता है कि दुनिया में कोई भी खबर हो सबसे पहले वो तस्वीर जो है आज तक पहुँचेगी। और यहाँ पर जो आज तक पहुँचा है हिजबुल्लाह के मुख्यालय हेडक्वार्टर यहाँ पर नसरुल्लाह जो है हमारे लिए आसपास देखिए गाड़ियों में क्या हुआ है। अभी 7 दिन बीत चुके हैं, अभी भी उस इमारत में धुआं हो रहा है, स्मेल जो है वो बाहर आ रही है, प्लास्टिक साफ दिख रही है। और ये साफ दर्शाता है कि कितना भयानक वो धमाका। अशरफानी साउथ।
Israel-Hezbollah war continues to escalate. Israel continued its onslaught also on Lebanon's borders, where it demolished underground tunnel networks of the Hezbollah. Missiles struck several residential buildings in the capital of Beirut. Hezbollah is hit back by targeting Mossad headquarters, crucial highways hampering connectivity, and several military posts in Tel Aviv. A demolition of underground tunnels comes as a massive setback for the Hezbollah. The tunnels are over 100 miles in length and house the underground command, control rooms, weapons and medical supplies. Israel has vowed to further destroy Hezbollah's combat compounds and said it won't allow a repeat of the deadly October 7th attack of last year.
One of the buildings that our troops raided, we found proof of this. This is a map that Hezbollah planned to give its terrorists at the time of a wide-scale invasion into the state of Israel, as part of its Conquer the Galilee plan to carry out an October 7th massacre in Israel's north. As you can see on the map, there is a key marking Israeli communities, IDF posts, access roads, and targets for attack. We found this map on one of the compounds that was supposed to be used by thousands of Hezbollah terrorists on the day they carried out their invasion. We are dismantling all this area that was ready for the leaping point for Hezbollah Radwan forces, infrastructures next to our border, and we need to take care of it because we will not let another 7th of October occur next to our border. We'll do it as fast as we can, and we will take down the threat. It's a threat next to our border. Any other sovereign country will do the same. This is a murderous terror organization in the size of an army, and we will take care of it. We will push Hezbollah back from border. Our citizens, our civilians in the north should live in safe and security. We'll make it happen.
Our Foreign Affairs Editor Geeta Mohan for more details on that. Geeta, extremely worrying situation from the strikes that we've seen at night. Retaliation perhaps from Iran was expected, but we also know that there's been a terror attack in Israel and there is further escalation. Give us a sense of what's happening on the ground.
Well, the fact that this is an escalation and the Iranians have been very, very clear that they are only focusing on the infrastructure and not civilian areas. There has been a very clear message that has been put out and sent by the commanding officers in the Iranian administration, saying that this was just to show that Iran can retaliate and Iran will retaliate, but the focus and the target was not a civilian infrastructure or civilian spaces, that they were all infrastructure and bases of Israel, and should Israel retaliate, there is going to be a response that Israel will receive. So that was Brigadier General Nasir Zadeh, who has actually come out and said that these are military and intelligence-related targets, and very legitimate for Iran to do that, given the kind of attacks Iran and Iran's allies have suffered. That's what the operation was all about. They were all, and we have confirmation on no civilian deaths from Israel itself, saying that no civilians have been injured. Although yes, all civilians were sent to bomb shelters and bunkers, so they were not out in the open anyway. Having said that, the ballistic missiles reached only the infrastructure and military-related infrastructure, to be precise. So Iran is calling it a legitimate response, and also saying that if Israel tries to retaliate, there will be a harsher reply. So massive threat coming in from the Iranian side. This is escalation, Sneha. Whether we like it or not, there is going to be an Israeli response. How Israel is going to respond to it is something we'll have to wait and see.
Days ahead, undoubtedly, because this is a war and it is only, in fact, snowballing further. Certainly very, very bad news, not just for West Asia, but for the global community as a whole. Geeta, be with us. Just coming back to you in a moment from now. West Asia war sees a major escalations. On Tuesday, Iran fired over 100 missiles at Israel, triggering alarms across the country and sending Israelis rushing for shelter. In response, the Israeli army announced the closure of the nation's airspace. Spokesperson Daniel Hagari has assured that Israel's air defense systems were fully operational, effectively detecting and intercepting incoming threats. The Revolutionary Guards of Iran said that the missile attack was in retaliation for killing of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah and a senior Hamas figure last week. Meanwhile, Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei remains in a secure location amid the missile strikes.
איראן עשתה הערב טעות גדולה, והיא תשלם על כך. המשטר באיראן לא מבין את נחישותנו להגן על עצמנו ואת נחישותנו לגמול לאויבינו. סינואר ודף לא הבינו זאת, נסראללה ומוחסן לא הבינו זאת, וכנראה יש בטהרן אלה שלא מבינים זאת. הם יבינו. נעמוד בכלל שקבענו. מי שתוקף אותנו, אנחנו תוקפים אותו.
That continues to be with us, Geeta. In fact, Iran has been putting out this information as well, saying that the onslaught is on and it will continue. A sense of how the world really is looking at the situation, given that Israel had been warned earlier also to not, in fact, escalate this further, isn't it? Especially after the strike that killed the supreme leader of Hezbollah, the leader who had been heading the group for 30 long years.
But Sneha, look at how things have changed on the ground as well. With Iran now in the picture, having entered the fray, the American attitude and American position has changed drastically. For a country that was focused only on ceasefire and asking Israel to stop, now they have started coming out and saying that they're going to back Israel completely because Iran has come into the picture. So in a way, if you see, civilians not targeted, infrastructure, yes. Israel is certainly going to respond. The war theater has widened, but for Netanyahu to have the kind of support that he wanted from America and not to be told to stop is something that they really wanted. So we are looking at America now that might continue speaking of diplomacy and ceasefire, but are not going to walk the talk because Iran is in the fray. They better know their enemy, their adversary. So what we are looking at, and I can imagine, is that Israel is yet again going to, which Israel is saying, that this is what, apart from all the statements that have come in the recent past when they were founding Lebanon, Yemen, and Syria, they kept talking about their successes and wins. But after the attack from Iran, look at the messages that have come from the Israeli handlers. Some of them saying this is the kind of threat that Israel faces. This is how we are targeted. This is what we face. This is the existential crisis. So once they speak of their existential crisis because Iran is in the fray, you will see America and many others rally behind Israel, and the talk for ceasefire really reduces. This is the moment, Sneha, that we'll have to see whether the Arab world is going to come together to continue with the call for a ceasefire. Now, Iran is continuing with its attacks is because despite the distance, Iran is doing it because their next best thing that they had, the Hezbollah, is completely decimated. So this is a war theater now that has not just expanded, but has become, will take a very serious turn because Iran is in the fray now.
I'm currently standing here in the street of Beirut. This is the main highway of Beirut city, and you can see on right side of me a long queue of the motor cars. These motor cars are not parked here, but actually the families with their car have left after our yesterday evening when there was a series of attacks from Iran as well as from Hezbollah on Israel. The people are in the fear, and that is why for last many days since Friday they are spending most of the nights in these open areas so that they could not become the victims of the Israeli targets. During the night, 4 aerial strikes were carried out by Israel in the suburb of Beirut, which is the stronghold of Hezbollah, but the local population has already vacated from that area and they have moved to some other safer places. In the vicinity, the people who can't afford to leave their homes during the night period, they come out in the cars, then city for the night in the open, and when the day begins, they again start their work and try to be farther in the safer areas. But despite all this, the people here in the Lebanon, particularly in the Beirut, now believe that there will be more such aerial attacks, which the Beirut as well as the South Lebanon is witnessing since last many days will intensify. Ashrafani, for India Today in Beirut.
Amid escalation and tensions in an already volatile region, Israel's capital city faces a terror attack. A deadly shooting in the Jaffa neighborhood of Tel Aviv on Tuesday left 8 people dead, with multiple others critically injured. Reports indicate the attack occurred near a light rail station. 2 gunmen opened fire on bystanders in a crowded area. Emergency responders rushed to the scene, providing immediate medical assistance to those wounded. Several of the injured are in grave condition, with some reported to be unconscious as well. Visuals from the scenes capture the terrorists getting off at the station before launching the assault. They were quickly neutralized by the cops. Meanwhile, authorities have yet to release further details about the attackers' identities or their motives. I'm going to go straight across to Geeta for more on that. Geeta, this in fact is a horrible, horrible reminder of what happened in Mumbai, isn't it? The manner in which the terrorists here caught on these, on the CCTV camera have in fact gone on a shooting spree, really, and shooting and stabbing spree, killing 8 people at least.
Well, yes. What happened last evening in the heart of Tel Aviv is certainly a scare that Israel has to live with on a daily basis. It was a scenario where we're looking at terrorists coming in and spraying bullets at the passers-by. So there have been massive injuries. And 4 dead is what was confirmed till we saw last. There were 2 very critical and some injured as well. The operation was carried out. The fact that Israel is always on high alert is the reason why they swiftly could carry out an operation, and the 2 terrorists were neutralized. But this is now something that they will have to see on how they can avert. We are looking at threats from within and without, which is from the outside as well. Israel is going to face not just internal threats, but also, as we've been talking about it on India Today Global as well, Sneha, a 7-front war, whether it's the initial threats from the Hamas when it came to Gaza, then Israel opened up West Bank as well, then Lebanon, then Yemen, Syria, extremist organizations from Iraq, and now Iran itself. So a 7-front war is what we're looking at between Israel and the others in the region. The Arab world is very concerned because there is going to be a spillover effect of that. But the internal situation with these terror attacks and these attacks in civilian areas and cities are going to be very, very, is something that Israel will have to look into. Now, identity of the assailants, where they were, what's the motive, are details that still have to come out. But yes, Israel is going to put out those details since they have lost lives in the attack. And there are still those who have been injured and are in hospital.
Actually, during the last few days, the displacement of the people, particularly from the South Lebanon and South Beirut, has started all across the Lebanon. We are here in one of the rehabilitation homes which had been put or set by the local NGOs in different cities and towns. In fact, this periphery is a school building, but schools are closed here, and so this work and this rehabilitation is being conducted by this NGO in the Tripoli city of Lebanon. Ashrafani, India Today in Tripoli.
Iran's Armed Forces Chief of Staff Major General Mohammad Bagheri on Tuesday, which is the 1st of October, threatened to repeat Tehran's attack against Israel and target its infrastructure. Now, speaking on state TV, Bagheri said the operation would be repeated several times stronger if Israel retaliated against a missile attack by Iran earlier on Tuesday evening. Iran fired more than 180 ballistic missiles at Israel in retaliation for Israel's campaign against Tehran's Hezbollah allies in Lebanon, and Israel vowed a painful response against its enemy. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said Iran's missile attack on Israel failed at the start of a security meeting in Tel Aviv on Tuesday night.
به اذن خداوند متعال در انتقام خون شهید مجاهد اسماعیل هنیه در تهران و نقض حاکمیت ملی جمهوری اسلامی ایران و همچنین شرارت‌های اخیر این رژیم جنایتکار در به شهادت رساندن فرماندهان و همچنین رهبر بزرگ حزب الله و مجاهد عظیم جناب سید حسن نصرالله و فرمانده رشید و شهید سپاه اسلام سردار سرلشکر پاسدار عباس نیلفروشان و همچنین در انتقام از خون کودکان مظلوم غزه و همچنین مردم مقاوم و مظلوم لبنان عملیات وعده صادق دو را با نام مبارک یا رسول الله یا رسول الله یا رسول الله آغاز کنید. توکل بر خدا کنید. موفق باشید.
I'm currently driving through the south suburbs of Beirut, which was targeted during the previous night with 5 missile strikes in different 5 locations. So, which has put all the people in the fear all across this South Beirut. There is very low movement of the people, particularly the civilians, but Hezbollah fighters are visible here, moving here and there, and keeping a kind of a vision. And in fact, you can see another building which I want to show, which was targeted after the Iranian attacks on Israel. And since then, 5 attacks had been carried out by the Israel here, the south suburbs, and mostly damaged all those buildings. And you can see here how much impact this building has got on the
Iran's Supreme Leader is warned of a stronger attack. Khamenei said uprising will be stronger, more painful. Iran's Supreme Leader has remained in a secure location after missiles fired at Israel, senior Iranian officials have told Reuters. That's a big development, with the war only escalating even further, with things escalating even further. Explosions on the Israel-Lebanon border as IDF ground operation begins. Iran has retaliated. A video showing Iranian missile attack on Israel. Attacking Israel, and Israel has responded saying that there will be consequences. There's been a missile attack. These are pictures on your screen right now. There's also been a terrorist attack in Tel Aviv. Iran's Supreme Leader has said that there will be a stronger attack. Iran has retaliated. The Supreme Leader, Khamenei, remains in a secure location after missiles are fired at Israel. Senior Iranian officials have told Reuters. Uprising will be stronger, more powerful. The supreme leader warning of a stronger attack. War front here. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Tuesday night that Iran made a big mistake by launching missiles towards Israel. During the opening of the Security Cabinet meeting in Jerusalem, he said Iran will pay for it, quote unquote. That's a big message there from the Israeli Prime Minister. Listen in.
נסראללה איראן עשתה הערב טעות גדולה, והיא תשלם על כך. המשטר באיראן לא מבין את נחישותנו להגן על עצמנו ואת נחישותנו לגמול לאויבינו. סינואר ודף לא הבינו זאת, נסראללה ומוחסן לא הבינו זאת, וכנראה יש בטהרן אלה שלא מבינים זאת. הם יבינו. נעמוד בכלל שקבענו. מי שתוקף אותנו, אנחנו תוקפים.
Big story this morning, Iran attacks Israel. There will be consequences, says Benjamin Netanyahu in a statement that he has made. A video shows Iranian missile attack on Israel. And this, Israel says, is a big mistake on the part of Iran. Iran will pay for it, says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as the world has urged Israel to exercise restraint. However, these strikes continue and now Iran has retaliated. The military has said that Iran fired missiles at Israel and air raid sirens sounded across the country. Residents were ordered to remain close to bomb shelters. Israel and the US have warned there will be consequences. The orders, in fact, to shelter in place were sent to Israelis' mobile phones, announced on nationwide on television. Alerts were sounded a day after rocket and missile attacks from Lebanon. Israel said it had begun limited ground operations and incursions in the southern part of Lebanon. These were targeted airstrikes, is what Israel had said. On your screen, pictures from Tel Aviv, where there have been strikes on the part of Iran and also a terrorist attack that we're reporting on. Listen in once again to what the Israeli Prime Minister has had to say.
איראן עשתה הערב טעות גדולה, והיא תשלם על כך. המשטר באיראן לא מבין את נחישותנו להגן על עצמנו ואת נחישותנו לגמול לאויבינו. סינואר ודף לא הבינו זאת, נסראללה ומוחסן לא הבינו זאת, וכנראה יש בטהרן אלה שלא מבינים זאת. הם יבינו. נעמוד בכלל שקבענו. מי שתוקף אותנו, אנחנו תוקפים אותו.
Emily Botpo from Tel Aviv at this point in time. Thank you for joining in. I'd just like to get a sense from the claims that Israel has made on the ground, saying that the damage vis-a-vis casualties and injuries have been minimal. What is the reality on the ground? 2 people injured as far as the missile strikes are concerned, and those were shrapnel attacks as Israel.
As you know, I am right now on Sderot Yerushalayim, Jerusalem Boulevard, where only hours ago, here in Tel Aviv, Jaffa, 2 terrorists attacked light rail passengers and passers-by. Right behind me, as you can see, is the track of the light rail. The 2 terrorists were neutralized, and 7 people were murdered. Several others were injured. We now know the IDF has informed us that 1 IDF soldier was seriously injured. As you mentioned, right after or around the same period of time, Iran launched a massive attack with over 180 ballistic missiles targeting Israel. This is the second direct attack on Israel. The last one was on April 13, April 14 overnight. This is the largest attack in terms of ballistic missiles. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said